Picture Canada with white sandy beaches and reggae vibes. Sounds impossible, but in the late 1800s and early 1900s, serious people, politicians, businessmen, and even prime ministers thought Jamaica might swap out rum for the maple syrup. Two lands tied together by the British Crown. For a short while, the dream of a tropical Canadian province actually seemed possible. Both Jamaica and Canada were under the same monarch. Canada, a shiny new dominion in 1867, and Jamaica as a crown colony run by a governor. They already traded a ton. Canadians sent salted cod and lumber south, while Jamaicans sent back sugar and rum. However, the Canadian politicians thought, why stop at trade when you could just stick the Caribbean onto Canada like a sun-soaked appendix? Meanwhile, Caribbean planters kept collapsing sugar prices thanks to the European markets being so desperate for sugar and rum. Enter Michael Solomon, a Jamaican merchant, English by birth, just to be clear, legislative council member and vocal critic of Crown colony rule. In 1884, he traveled to London with a bold pitch: let Canada join Jamaica. The West India Committee even drew up a memo spelling out the perks. Jamaica would secure buyers for sugar, and Canada would score tropical goodies, naval clout, and even a shiny new market. Solomon then hopped over to Ottawa and met with then Prime Minister Sir John A. Macdonald. He warned, if Canada didn't act, the US might grab Jamaica instead. Macdonald, never shy about adding territory, was intrigued. He even took the idea to London, where Britain's colonial secretary, Lord Derby, basically shrugged and said, sure, we don't really care, because like Ottawa's here, Jamaica's here, and then the UK is all the way across the way, so like we don't really care. But back in Jamaica, reality hit. Solomon put a motion to the Legislative Council. The vote 8 against and 1 for. Not exactly a nail biter. Local elites didn't trust Canada. They needed to cover debts, and they dreaded the idea of higher taxes and weren't keen on losing influence. Some even preferred the US option: bigger market, closer geography. British officials also fretted. Canadian tariffs could wreck British trade, and West Indians might resent being demoted from imperial subjects to just a province. Still, the idea didn't fully die. Canada kept investing, building telegraph lines, subsidizing steamships, and even talking up trade. Newspapers in Winnipeg bragged that Jamaica was leaning Canada's way. Even Jamaica's Glenner speculated that Canada's booming population one day might make annexation viable. In 1911, T.B. Maclay, a Canadian insurance executive, created the Canada West Indian League. A Trinidad planner, Kenneth Grant, suggested turning the islands into provinces with seats in Ottawa. Even the Bahamian Legislative Council floated negotiations. Prime Minister Robert Borden showed interest. It promised prestige and economic variety, but the law was against him. The British North America Act didn't allow adding foreign territories. Canadians also weren't thrilled about footing Caribbean defense bills, and let's be blunt, racial prejudice loomed large. British officials doubted white Canadians would welcome a majority black province. By the First World War, the whole thing politely fizzled. Fast forward to the 1950s, the short-lived West Indies Federation looked at Canada's Confederation as a model. Some suggested linking up with Canada after gaining Dominion status. Canada even donated 2 ships, the Federal Maple and the Federal Palm, to help connect the islands, but internal squabbles tanked the Federation. Jamaica pulled out in 1961, Trinidad soon followed, and the whole thing just collapsed. No serious link-up ever happened. So in summary, why? Why did we not give ourselves a Hawaii for Canada? West Indian planters doubted Canada's small population could buy enough sugar and bananas. Canada also wasn't keen on paying colonial debts or guarding Caribbean waters, because it's kind of all the way down there. Britain didn't want to lose its Caribbean foothold, despite the fact that they were okay with giving Jamaica to Canada. And yes, prejudice. Canadians balked at the idea of a distant black majority province. By the mid-20th century, Independence was the new dream. Jamaicans voted in 1962 to go their own way while still keeping the Queen as the head of state. But charting their own course, Canada, meanwhile, looked west and north for growth in sort of like the past before, The Canadian Caribbean idea never materialized. The dream kind of melted like ice under the Jamaican sun. But what did remain were bonds. Jamaica and Canada share a monarch, Commonwealth ties, migration links, and plenty of Canadian tourists fleeing winter to sip rum on Jamaican beaches. The Canadians never got their tropical province, but they did get a lasting friendship, and maybe that's a better deal, though the beaches would have been nice too. But maybe the real beaches were the friends we made along the way. It's been Forger, guys. I'm out.